Hello everyone, welcome back. I apologize for being gone last week. I was having a rough week and stressed and needed to get caught up on some things, and well, I streamed for fun and it wasn't going to be fun, so I ended up punting. So hopefully that didn't mess up people's schedules too much. I know some people do try to catch the streams live when they can. So tonight I figured I'd dive back into more material design and XAML stuff. Specifically the DialogHost. When I took over as maintainer, I remember James, the creator of the library, made a comment that DialogHost was potentially one of the most problematic areas because it is somewhat complex to work with. A lot of people come to WPF from a Windows Forms or WinForms background where there's the simple messagebox.show static method, real easy. You pass it a string, you get a dialog, there's some text, nice OK button. Nothing hard about it. Whereas the DialogHost inside of the material design library is a little more complex. It uses the C# async and await stuff. It's not always trivial to understand how it's going to work, how it's going to behave, and there's consequently some bugs that have been filed on it. And there was a comment on one of my YouTube videos specifically asking about how to swap content in MVVM type format and how to make all of that work together. So I figured we'd look at some bugs, maybe see about putting together a sample to answer the original question, and generally have some dialogue fun tonight. That's my game plan. For those people who tune in regularly, know that I rabbit trail and my world gets very complicated very fast. Okay, so updated on latest master. For those people from last stream, the new theme brushes have been rebased. I have not actually even run the branch since I finished the rebase, so I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's all kinds of broken. But I do want to get it done because it is something that I want to get in the 5.0 release. There will be breaking brush changes. I have some high hopes of things I would love to do, and I've learned to stop thinking that I'm going to get everything done because that just doesn't happen. Okay, so the bug that caught my attention was this one here. So this one is specifically calling out that the dialogue is always on top, even if the application doesn't have focus. Now, let's kind of break apart the DialogHost a little bit. Okay, so Teletech, DialogHost, that's probably good enough. Okay, so ye olden days, there's not a date on this here. If anybody wants to boost my blog numbers on my company's site, it makes me look cool. There, shameless self-promotion. So I wrote a blog post a while back, and not a lot has changed with the DialogHost since I wrote this. In fact, very little has changed. This thing has been sort of the same since I did that. I look really washed out against that white screen. There we go. Let's do that. Okay, so it comes down and it pulls up the anatomy of a DialogHost. And the thing I actually want to show is this view here. And this is a view using the zoomer control inside of Snoop. But it's worth calling out that the DialogHost kind of has three parts that are worth knowing about. There's the content under which you want the dialogue to cover. Because when you pop up the DialogHost, in the old Windows Forms message box world, it just blocked everything. It was modal, you couldn't interact with the stuff behind it, everything's locked, you're just done. And sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want to pop a dialogue, but you still want to allow some amount of content to be interacted with. So the DialogHost in the material design library is a content control. That is, there can be content inside of it. And specifically, the way the template handles that is any content that you put inside of your DialogHost is the content that the dialogue is going to basically reside on top of. And that is this second layer here. So any content, that would be this number 1 bit here. That's the content inside the DialogHost. That is what this layer 2 thing, that kind of grayed out shadow, is going to lay on top of. And then finally, there's the actual dialogue itself. But yeah, what about? Who cares about that? That's the easy part. Right? But this is usually one of the areas that people struggle with the most, is trying to figure out, well, hang on, where do I put my DialogHost? And the answer is you can put it wherever you want. And unfortunately, with too much freedom becomes analysis paralysis, and people don't know what to do with it. So it gets all confusing and stuff. So common patterns that are worth noting. in a lot of cases, you want your dialog to cover all of the content of your window, right? That's fairly common. So oftentimes what you would do is you would put it near the root of your window and put all of the contents of your window inside of it. Simple, right? It will then pull up, it will cover over the top of all of your window contents, just like what you see here in this screenshot. The entire grade area covers over everything behind it. Great. In this case, the DialogHost is positioned, basically, it is, not basically, it is the root level element inside of the window. Now, if you don't want that, say you don't want it to overlay any content, you could just put the dialog content kind of off by itself, sort of how you can put two elements right next to each other in a grid or a stack panel, because the DialogHost control itself doesn't ask for any size, right? Unless you do something crazy like set a margin or something on it here, it's not going to, its rendered size of the actual host portion of it should be 0, 0, right? If you put content in it, that host size is going to get size to its content, but the host itself should not add anything to it. So if you don't want this thing to cover anything, you can very easily just, you know, size it, put it off in its own little corner, and then it won't cover up anything, because the stuff inside of it is just what that overlay is going to go. Now, the third bit to this, the dialog itself. This guy, by default, if you've done nothing, is inside of a pop-up control. Now, a pop-up control in WPF is a lightweight window. So it is its own window. Its visual tree is not part of the actual main window. And this is another area where a lot of confusion comes with the DialogHost, is oftentimes people assume that the dialog is part of the window because the DialogHost that they put in there is part of the window. Okay, the host is really just there for this gray overlay bit, and the dialog itself is inside of a pop-up which lives outside of the window. Now, we'll dive into this a little more in a minute when we look at the code, but the pop-up itself, because it's not part of the main window, means it can size larger than the window. And oftentimes that's an asset. People oftentimes want to constrain their dialog to the window, but being that it's a pop-up, it's free to be as big as it wants. It can go larger than your window. So maybe you want to have some longer stuff and you don't want it locked into how big your window size is. Depending on your use case, that's either an asset or a liability. Depends. But it's worth noting that that is in its own separate pop-up. Now, there is an alternate style that you can choose to do. And I'm going to skip over all of this stuff here. Returning values. Want more. Oh, did I not cover the embedded one? Ah, no, I did. So there is a secondary DialogHost style available to you called an embedded DialogHost. Now, the difference here is the dialog portion itself is no longer part of a pop-up. Instead, it actually gets put as an element inside of your window. So now, if what your desired behavior is to have your DialogHost be constrained to your window, using the embedded DialogHost is a very easy way to do this, right? It locks it in, doesn't let it go anywhere. Because it's part of the main Windows visual tree, some of the bugs that we're going to look at just aren't possible because we're not dealing with this, you know, pop-up is its own window type problem, right? And synchronizing events between two windows. So given that, if what you want is to have your dialog constrained to the window, this is a very easy way to do it. Just set the style on your DialogHost to the embedded DialogHost style, off to the races, you're done. Perfect. It's wonderful. Love it, love it, love it. So that is the high level. Okay. So let's dive in here. So this bug here came up, and there's a couple things that interest me right away about it. So one, the bug, modal is always on top even if the application has no focus. So when we're using the default DialogHost with the pop-up control, the pop-up itself tries to watch the parent window for its activated and deactivated events. And then it tries to respond appropriately. Because if somebody says minimize the window that contains the DialogHost, no one expects that dialog to stay there. They expect it to disappear. So on things like window getting minimized, we just hide the pop-up. And then when you bring it back up, poof, it then, shows up again, which is good. That's the behavior you want, but it is now trying to synchronize these two windows. And this bug here is claiming that the modal is sitting on top of it. And what's really interesting to me is down here, Kikis, Eric Cleven, I'm probably butchering that name. My apologies, Eric. Was saying that even the demo app was reproducing this behavior, which is shocking to me. So one, I can't reproduce this behavior. Let me actually get Visual Studio open. Naturally, I installed a brand new Visual Studio, and so we're gonna just hope that this works. While that's firing up, one question I have for people. I have been contemplating going through and putting together some new project templates, and whether that be like a templated GitHub repo or a .NET new template or something, new project templates for creating WPF apps with some kind of basic starter plate stuff. And for me, that sounds useful because I constantly am spinning new projects with kind of small examples and things for people. So one, I want it for me, so it's probably going to happen. But I'm trying to decide how useful that is to other people, whether I should make it hyper specific to me or whether I should make it something that other people could consume. Because things that I'm thinking that I would want kind of built in a new project template. So WPF project, I would want the material design library pulled in. I would want the community toolkit MVVM library pulled in. I would want the generic host set up with DI already fired up and ready to go. And ideally, I would like a unit test project and a UI test project. Just if I'm gonna wish list it, I'd like all of that stuff just kind of boom, done. So that's my wish list. And I kind of think I want to build out that template because I've done it. I've now built those projects so many times. I'm kind of getting annoyed doing it. And each time I kind of like tweak it a little bit and like, well, I don't need this, but I kind of would rather a template that just dumped everything out and then I delete what I don't want. Let the rest of it live there. Okay. So let's fire this guy up. Let me just confirm. Latest, master, everyone's happy. Also, Dependabot is awesome. Awesome. So people will probably see, assuming it keeps working, Dependabot for GitHub is watching for dependent NuGet updates, and when it sees a dependent NuGet update, it'll update that package, and as long as the pipeline passes, it auto merges the PR, kicks off a nightly release, and we're off to the races. And that just makes me so excited, because then all I get is email notifications saying, hey, new NuGet package published. It's like, really? That's cool. Okay, I also noticed this bug here where we apparently have stopped loading the home button. So we may go fix that here in a minute because it's annoying me. And annoyingness is the mother of invention. Okay, so there's this guy here. And this is where I don't know how to, like, this is where I have trouble reproducing it. Now, the description here involved setting a breakpoint right here inside of the dialog view model. So we could go through and do that. Boom. Oh, that's not the right one. I just looked at the project it was in. Dialog view model. Let's see. Main demo, please. That one. Take me there. Thank you. And then specifically, we were inside of execute run dialog. Execute run dialog. And I think it was sitting here. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something obvious. When Visual Studio hits the breakpoint shown in the picture, move another app like Notepad in front of the demo app and click Continue in Visual Studio. Observe that the pop-up modal on the other thing. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to cancel this. We're going to run. And then, I don't know. The suggestion was Notepad, so Notepad sounds great. So we'll put Notepad right front and center. Great. Continue. Interesting. Okay, so that... The problem is the timing of this. Though, okay, so here's the theory. Here's the theory. This dialogue is being heavily dependent on states. Okay, so let's go with spelunking. So pop-up EX. So this control here, and there's a comment. This came from the controls EX library. This used to be something when we used Packet that was brought in as just a straight source file. Eventually we got rid of Packet and this just came copied in wholesale. And occasionally I will check that library just to see if there's any relevant updates, but there's not like, this has been a very stable class for a fairly long period of time, so I'm not overly concerned about it. But a few key things that I will, no, do not print. Who prints code anymore? Like, I remember when I was back at university, there were times we actually printed off our source code. I have not done that in years. Okay, so for example, there is these loaded events, and you'll note it does attempt to grab the host window, and assuming it can find a host window, it watches these events. Now, the comment from the other person down here is that when inside of a page, I don't think the tabs control has an idea, but inside of a page is interesting because I do wonder if that breaks the window get window call. I think the template idea would be great. It would be good to have something like that to link people to. I have my own base project that I use, so I'd love to see if there are better ways to do some of the DI stuff. Cool. Nick, do you have any preference on whether it would be useful would it be more useful to have a .NET new template or a GitHub template repo? So the kind of there's some pros and cons to each. The .NET new template gives some options for, like, if I wanted to have switches and whatnot to gen stuff. The GitHub repo, I could do a lot more in it. Like, I could set up the Git attributes, the Git ignore that I like. I could honestly set like a bunch of my GitHub actions and the flavors of that I want as well, just so that I get all of that. I don't need that in a ton of places, but it would, in my mind, it would be the quickest way to go from zero to rolling fairly quickly. But I don't know if people want that extra stuff or if they would rather it just gen a project. The .NET new template also comes with the perk of I could write some individual items templates. That way, if people just wanted to gen like app startup stuff with DI or just wanted to gen a window, there could be individual items to gen some of those. And then if it gens a window and you only want to keep part of the code and throw the rest away, great. It's meant to be an 80% solution, not 100%. Okay, so I think the comment here about it being inside of a page, I think, is correct. Okay, so the question comes, given that breakpoint issue, this thing seems to assume, and maybe this is the use case, if there is significant delay between when you call show dialog and when the pop-up is actually loaded. I wonder if that's the kicker. If anybody is wondering, this minus equals plus equals pattern, this just assumes that an event, or this just ensures that an event is only registered once. So a minus equals will do nothing if this guy hasn't already been added. So an event is what's called a multicast delegate. Think of it as just a list of delegates to invoke. This just says remove item from the list, but if it's not in the list, it does nothing. So this is kind of like list remove, list add is effectively all it's doing. So it just ensures that you don't accidentally double register something. Okay, so I don't... The other thing that's potentially problematic is this guy here is doing set topmost. And I am noticing that in the case where it can't find the host window, it's going to default topmost to true. So part of the reason for doing this is if the pop-up is shown, and because there's an animation, there's a delay in there while it's, you know, animating. If the user were to interact with the window in any way and topmost wasn't set to true, the pop-up would then be allowed to float behind it. But I'm wondering, and I don't know if this is possible. We might have to get fancy. So there is a thing you can do inside of the windowing system where if a window has a parent, it always rides in front of the parent. And I'm wondering if rather than topmost, if that's a better approach to this. We're already doing some wacky stuff under the hood. What is all this for? Get window rec, set window position. Yeah, so this is already moving the window's position around. I imagine this is probably... Find all references. Where are you used? So if you're unable to get it, set Windows position. Yeah, so I'm wondering... I'm kind of curious to check. Something in the back of my mind is telling me that we could leverage the windowing system to do this and not rely on the topmost, because that would probably fix a couple of these. Okay. Step one. Let's reproduce this guy in a test. I think. Let's start there. Do I want to do this in a user control, or do I just want to write it straight? Probably in a user control. Let's do it in a user control. In page. Boom. Just gonna go there. Okay, got a user control. Let's slap a page on here, but let's spell page correctly. Okay, and then we're gonna go with DialogHost. Okay, boom. Add this. Do the needful for me. Clean that up. Okay. Let's see. Material design, DialogHost, dialogue content. I think I'm actually just gonna go crazy. Content, close, and we're gonna set a huge margin on this guy, like 30. Make him big and obvious, and then command. Let's see. Material design, DialogHost, close dialog command. Boom. Okay. So if this seems like weirdness to you, this is called a routed command inside of WPF. That blog post, I'll link it again, does kind of go over various ways to open and close DialogHost. So if you're interested in knowing what the total possibilities are, let's go with button, content, show, vertical alignment center, horizontal alignment center. Close that guy up. I'm just gonna flatten you, boom, 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 and then command, material design, DialogHost. What? Oh, is it open dialog command? Yeah. Okay. So the reason these commands work, so these commands by themselves, unlike relay or delegate commands for a more MVVM style. These routed commands don't actually have the execute or can execute methods defined themselves. Instead, when the command is executed, it'll walk up the visual tree looking for an element in the tree that can handle this command. And in this case, the DialogHost control itself does handle this command. And so if you are already inside of a DialogHost, it's very easy to just use a relay command to say, hey, open my parent DialogHost. I don't want to think too hard. And away we go. Same with the close dialog command. Because we're inside of it, we can get away with this. Okay. That's good enough. Here. And then I'm going to just file scope namespace all the things because I'm here. Why not? And then let's come down here. And I think we can probably leverage... Do you have you're just loading straight XAML. I kind of wanted to grab the one that was inside of the... What's the name of this with counter? Overlay conversion counts. Yeah, I kind of want to do something similar to what this guy's doing. So let's just steal this. We're going to steal this one real quick. And then we're going to delete most of the code. Okay, so... To-do. Great name. Okay, so we're going to go with in page. What we want to load up. We don't need to get... I don't really care about most of these things. I'm trying to think what I actually care about. So what's the test need to be? I want to open the dialog. And then in this case, because I'm inside of a page, the theory is it won't respond to events. I want to minimize the window and confirm that it is not there. So let's just delete almost all this. So we're going to keep this. I should probably give these things names to make them easier to find in here. Because if I name them, I can just do this, and then this same code works. So we're going to give these guys names, just so that I don't have to think too hard. Boom. Okay, so we're going to do that. Do that. That'll get me there, that'll get me there, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Don't care about that, don't care about that, don't care about that, don't care about that. Great. Okay, cool. So we're going to do this. So this should show the dialog. Await, task, delay, I don't know, 2 seconds. And then we're going to close it. Yeah, so this should pop the dialog, wait 2 seconds, then click the close button. Okay, so let's just make sure that much works. Oh, I was doing all that while debugging. Okay, run test. Thinking. Test runner's gonna fire up. I'm kind of hoping it puts the window over here rather than on my other monitor. Where are you going? Where's the window? Where's the window? Looking. Thinking. Claim to be running, and you also claim to have exploded immediately. Excellent. Excellent. I was worried it was going to be easy and work the first time. Nothing's that simple. Exception was thrown by what? So it fired up. It was able to retrieve the version, called initialize, called create window, and then crashed immediately. Excellent. So it failed on create window, which strongly implies I've done a bad thing over here. Let's just clean that up real quick and then... Okay. Did I do something wrong here that's horrible and bad? I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Just debug the test real quick and see. Because we can step into the gen window. I don't think I did anything wacky. I don't use page controls that often, so... Am I just being dumb? Am I being dumb? Very possible. Okay. Let's just do this. I kind of want to just make sure I'm not structuring this wrong. New page, sets background of page, sets page content. It's about as simple as you can make it. Okay, well let's just confirm this, right? So that should get me to here pretty effectively. Why is load user control? Let's see. I don't know why we're doing this. Not generic. Didn't realize I had that set. Okay, stop helping me. T control, not tab control. There. Get element. Generics all the way down. Yeah, there's no reason that should fail. All the way through there, all the way through there. And then, more importantly, this will be an iVisual element of new page. Oh, this will not. Oh, that's why it's not doing that. Because it's doing. Oh, it's doing .content. Oh, I'm an idiot. That won't work. So it's forced to be dumb. Okay. Don't know if I like that. I don't know how to fix it right now, so I'm not going to. Effectively, the problem being is that you'll note this was called what was it? This thing in here, DialogHost. And the reason is because even though I passed the user control here, because it's doing .content, it's jumping all the way inside and trying to pull back that content. But the logs here don't indicate that it's even getting that far. Because it's calling app create window and just bugging out there. So we're gonna just debug into that and figure out what's going on. Okay. What we're gonna do is some material design, init stuff, create window. Great. Window.xaml, and we can check this XAML to make sure that it looks as one would expect. We hit view. So this isn't doing anything fancy, right? It's got some XML here. The only thing that's mildly fancy is it's setting up this local namespace here. And then it's setting the content of the window to be that user control. It's no more complicated than that. So it just lets the generated XAML host app call back into our test project, reference the appropriate DLL, and away we go. This calls create window. The topmost. Oh, it is topmost. Okay, I can't see that. It's topmost and it's in the way. And Visual Studio's lack of a bar to grab onto is becoming problematic. Okay, so move tab. Okay, so we're gonna, sorry, I gotta move this over to here. Figure out where the crash is. Stand by one moment. Let's see. So interesting. So it crashed on retrieving the element. Why is that the case? Okay. Yeah, so this time it got to get element content. Oh, and there probably was no content, so it crashed. Betcha that's probably a bug. We just go grid. It'll probably be happier. Because then it has a target. Debug test. And this variable here is called DialogHost, and I really should rename it page because it's not a DialogHost. Oh, it stopped at a breakpoint again. Oh, it stopped at my breakpoint. Okay, good. So it retrieved a thing. It got a grid. Not shocking. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So, given that, let's just put in bits and pieces as we go and figure out where the heck this thing is unhappy with me. I wonder if page, because page is probably not something I've well tested. Let me just double check. There's nothing weird about you, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. We're going to come back over to here. Let's rename you to page because that's functionally what you are. Okay, so let's grab it here. Debug. Should probably be setting topmost to not. This test base, if I recall, I left myself a nice little helper. Is that not on this thing? Huh, maybe I did that on a different project. All my projects are starting to blend together. Interesting. So I'm noticing it's just failing straight up on create window. Okay, so you are problematic. So we're gonna just copy you. Or actually, we don't need to copy you. We'll just go to the demo app and we'll do it there. I am doing something wrong with this. Dialogues. Okay, so we're gonna pick on this one. Okay, so wrap this guy up in a page. And I'm wondering if the issue is going to be that something in the back of my mind is now telling me that you're not allowed to put a page is the non-root element. Something's telling me that that was a rule or a thing. I don't know if that's true, but I think it might be. I think it might be. Okay, might have to fix that. That's really bothering me. Page can only have a window or a frame as a parent. Hey. Got it. Okay. So that's... Hey. Not quite what I wanted. Do that. There. Happy? Frame does not support direct content. Why? See, this is why I don't use... You know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to slap... Because the end goal of this is just to test this page theory out. And I'm pretty sure it's right. So, what I heard is new app. We're going to just do this real quick. Because that seems... yet another situation where having a new project template would really be handy. WPF app next. WPF app 8 sounds great. As you can see, I do this every so often. Occasionally I will go through my dev folder and I'll just start purging stuff. I've lost work a lot of times doing that, not realizing that, oh, oops, that one I hadn't made a repo for yet. Or, yeah, all that testing code you were working on, you just threw away because you didn't push. Okay, step 1. We need a dialog host, which means we're going to need the material design library. So we're going to just lead with that. Close all you windows. It's an interesting problem, though, that I'm realizing because of the way XAML test is structured, it's really hard to use a page. Not impossible, but at least the way I have it set up inside of the material design library, it's going to make it really difficult because everything's designed for like that user control case. I'll have to think about that. I've got some stuff that I've been working on for XAML test to hopefully make it a lot easier. I've been playing around inside the Snoop source code to see how much effort it would be to break out Snoop's injector code into its own NuGet package. That way, other apps, such as XAML test, could also do the same injection bits. That's my goal. That's my goal. Okay, so we're just going to do this. We're going to do dialog. Actually, you know what? No. I'm going to just come over here and steal the code I wrote. It's not stealing if you steal from yourself. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking with it for the moment. Okay, I want all of you. Nope. Do what I meant, not what I typed. Wait. Copilot? Seriously? No, I guarantee you, Copilot, you are not going to guess your way into this one. You're good, but you're not that good. Okay. Yeah, sure. Fire. Go. Okay, well, my button's not there, which is problem numero 1. Let's just make sure this works without the page first before we get too carried away. That didn't just magically do. Yeah, I was gonna say the hot reload is good, but there's some times where I do stuff and I'm like, there's no way the hot reload inferred my intent. Did it? Okay, so oh, I didn't set up my app.xaml correctly. Okay, so you gotta not be dumb. And you gotta do something akin to this. Yeah, something like this. So come in here. Nope, that's outside. Paste there. And then we need to close the resource dictionary tag. And then we don't want Avalon. We don't need any of this stuff. Oop, do want that. Do need the namespace reference. That's a goodie. The defaults are needed so that, because without this, the control template for the DialogHost isn't loaded, which is probably why it's not showing up, because it has no template. And so WPF goes, oh, it's content control. Okay, show, close. It's a simple content control. It's not fancy. It's a little weird because I haven't done any theming on my Windows, so the dialog is getting appropriately dark theme because that's my Windows theme. But I haven't set up my window to do anything, so it just doesn't. Okay, great. That is something else that would be nice in a template. Gen me a window with theming turned on appropriately. I mean, it's 2 lines of code, but not big. Okay, fine. We'll turn it on. Boom. Theme enabled. Now, aside from opening on the wrong window, whoop, dark theme all the way around. Huzzah. Okay, so that works. More importantly, if I show the dialog and I minimize, the pop-up goes away. Maximize, pop-up comes back. If your eyes are quick and my frame rate isn't horrible, you might have even seen that dialog show up as the window was animating up. Okay, so let's slap this thing in a page and confirm that this thing does in fact fail. I'm pretty sure it's going to. I remember something about various structures not working with the window get window, which means when I minimize, oh, no, that worked. That works. Interesting, interesting, interesting. The plot continues to thicken. Okay, so that still worked. The thing is, the behavior being described on that ticket seems to strongly imply that this thing is not getting its window. Windows service property. Like something doesn't have, oh. You know, there are cases where if you host WPF content inside of something else, you won't have a parent window. I mean, we don't err, but we also don't respond appropriately. Okay, so there is... Let's try the draggables comment as well real quick. So if we go stop executing, manage NuGet package, we might have to change our target framework for this. We'll see. Something tells me I can just force it through. Oh, interesting. Salvables. Interesting. I wonder if this is somebody... I am noticing an increase in dependencies compared to this one, which I suspect is the change. We're going to go in here. We're just going to force it in. Okay. Okay, so let's go here. And what was the description? Inside a page, inside a tables control. Okay, so let's do... just slap that guy in, right? I might have to go look because I don't remember. This is effectively a tab control, but I don't remember the syntax. And rather than like figure it out, I'm just gonna go here because there's an example. Where is it? Is it main window that has it? we're gonna do something like this. Yeah. This then just takes tab item. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Okay. We're gonna grab that. Come on, let go. Visual Studio, you're not making yourself look good. Okay. Copy code is not supposed to be hard. Paste code is not supposed to be hard. XAML designer is busy. Kill the XAML designer. I don't care about the XAML designer here. Okay, and then I want a tab item, header, test, boom, 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 and then we're gonna move the page inside of. So it's interesting that the comment was a page inside of that. DialogHost inside a page inside a tables control. There must be a frame or something in the middle there, because we know that doesn't work. Because we know that doesn't work. We're gonna try this anyway, but I believe we're gonna see the same thing where, yeah, frame, and this guy here, if I put it in a frame, okay. Now I'm gonna need to do frame. Oh, how do I set the frame's content? Let's see, X, name, frame. Yeah. Go here, go here, go here. Just because I can't tolerate looking at it, clean that up. Okay, frame. No. Tell me, oh. Probably shouldn't do this while debugging. It's probably lost its mind. Okay. Let's see. And then we're going to do a add user control. User control 1 sounds great. Just because I don't want to rewrite all that in code. Way too lazy for that. So I'm going to just take all of you, pick you up, put you down over here. Paste there. You need the namespace included. Great. That up, move that up, move that up. Great. Oh, something that might interest people. So one of the cool things that often gets overlooked is this little D namespace. You can do a lot of stuff. So for people who actually enjoy using the designer for a lot of things to like preview, like for example, if I wanted this show button and I was like, you know what? I wonder what it would look like if the background was fuchsia, right? So I could do d.background gets fuchsia. And now I've set a property that only is going to apply at design time, not at runtime. So it gives you a lot of control. Like for example, this user control isn't showing me a background. It's like, well, I'd kind of like to see it, right? So I could do background white. And now my designer is going to show the background as white so that I can start playing around. It's also really useful if you want to have like some design time content. Like maybe you've got some text or whatever that you're doing a binding for, and you're like, I just kind of want to see what it looks like if I slap some text in here. Great. Go hog wild. Have fun. Like that's what these are for, is design time stuff. So you'll note I'll leave the fuchsia there. You're not going to see it. Okay. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to go here. Page gets new user control 1. Because that's the best name I can come up with. Go. Okay. A little confused. Test is the header on the tables control. Okay. Show See, it's still able to find the parent window. And now I just arrow shook everything, minimized, and now I have to chase all my windows back. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so cannot reproduce that situation. It's really... Okay, but there is still one case that we have been able to reproduce. Sort of. Okay, so we're gonna go back here. Let's go back here. So, a couple things. First, we're gonna throw away the UI test side. All right, there was nothing here worth keeping. Yeah, reset files. Clear that. There's nothing worth keeping here either, so discard that. Okay. Okay, step one. Let's go fix that demo app so that it stops annoying me. Because I have a feeling we're going to play in there here in a minute. So, main window. Let's look at why it's not picking on. Effectively, when we start, it's not picking an item from the list, and that kind of annoys me. Okay. Item source, selected item, or selected index. So one of you two is being unset or not set. I don't know which. So main window view model. While I'm in here, file scope the namespace for reasons. Let's see. And we might start killing this off. Let's see. So selected item. Selected index. Did we just not set this ever? Okay. I mean, I would have sort of expected that selected index would go to 0 and we would select the first item, but maybe I'm just wrong. Selected index. Value -1. Call stack. Where did we come from? We came from a binding. So the UI set us to -1. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so the UI set us to -1 and we didn't do anything about it. Okay, I think what we're gonna do. This is the view. Is this? I'm trying to remember the. Because we've got now like 5 different ways of doing this. Just do that. I think that's the simple path. Is on the view, just move the current item to the first item. Seems simplest to me. Okay. So I'm wondering then if that's the issue. That. It's weird to me that we have both selected index and selected item. That's the part that I'm not sure what's going on here. Why do we have both of these things? Like, what do we use these for? Are we actually using... We're using selected index in a bunch of places. We've got these move next, move previous commands. Where are these used? Are you even used anywhere? Did we do all this work for no reason? No, it is there. Where is this? Oh, this is up at the top. It's in the color zone right along the top. Why is 0, -1? So where... Let's go backwards. What did we do that triggered this thing to circle all the way through there? Update source, update, set current value. I'm just trying to find where our code is, because so that value is going back to -1, which is what's doing this. Like somehow... Okay. Let's look at main window view models history. Let's see, history, main window view model. Show me your history. So formatted source code, using statements delete won't do anything. Scroll viewer probably shouldn't do anything. That's just setting a property on the icon pack view model. That shouldn't do anything. That shouldn't do anything. That just adds another item to the list. Search keyword empty. This shouldn't do anything because this is inside of the command's execution handler. And now we're back quite a ways. Okay, so let's assume that it's not that one. Let's look at history of main window.xaml. Oh boy, it's got my name on it. Okay. So lots of formatting here. But I don't see anything. I don't see anything that would trigger this yet. Let's see here. Let's show side-by-side view because I think that's easier to look at the moment. Style. The dock panel is still there. Text box is still there. The diff is kind of weird how it's lining things up, but I mean, none of this stuff should have functionally changed as much as I mean, the order of these is certainly there. Why do we have... So selected item appears unused. Okay. So this is not going to be used. Well, I suppose we can leave that there, but let's go to the XAML. Oh, stop it. That is one of my least favorite features. The click drag distance time is, in my opinion, way too low. Way too low. We've got an issue there, but that's a different problem. Okay, selected item. This is where the selected item will come into play, but let's see if that addresses the starting one. No, interesting. Interesting. Selected index didn't get set either there. What is going on? Why is this not? I'm very confused as to what this is doing. Is there anything in the code behind doing anything fancy? Is this? Let's move that up. Shouldn't make a big difference. But having your view model instantiated, because I know that this one's constructor is the one that builds that list. Having that list oh, we can't have that until after initialize component. Got it. Because we pass in the message queue. It's kind of weird. In most of my apps, I tend to have the message queue live and go the other direction. Why? And the interesting part is home is selected here. Oh, it is working. It is working. Ah, it is working. Got it. 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 Okay. 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 Let's come back here. Let's come back here. So we want to discard this line. Put that back. Keep all of that. Keep all that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I understand. You're unhappy now. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So this selected item, even though we don't use it in our view model, it is there somewhat supporting the view because these bindings are leveraging it. Now, these bindings, we don't have to have these bindings doubling through here. And this, that won't do it. So this is no longer default selected. Now it is. Okay, so why? So it must have been something in the list box. Did we change something on the list box recently? I don't think so. Just double check. I don't recall any changes to the list box. Or hang on, what am I doing? Kraken. History. List box. Oh. You have to spell it correctly for it to find it. So once again, this commit is going to be the bane of my existence. We changed some animation durations. That's pretty tiny. That's also not going to do it, and this is all the way back at April. Okay, why are you not behaving the way I expect you to? That is the question. So what do we have going on? We set the item source. It's not order of operations, is it? Oh, that would be really dumb. I hope that's not what it is. Let's hypothetically test that theory. Let's test that theory. So if I just grab the list box. Hey, stop it. Stop it. Stop helping me. Okay. And I just take that list box and I go, you know what? Boom. Put the old one back. I saw this issue on the release though. This must have existed. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Save. Show me the diff on current. The difference being Item source set before or after selected item. I bet you that's the difference. So, just to be clear, selected item set first. Works like a charm. Item source set first. Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's think about what's happening here. When we set the item source first, it's getting the collection of items. And it goes through, and once a list box gets a collection of items, it has to then go and populate itself. Right? Virtualization will be enabled, so it'll have to create up n number of UI objects for the things visible in the scroll viewport. And then it'll set the selected index through. Wow, yeah, so that's all kinds of exciting. Okay, so there's only a couple ways to go through and handle this. So we can't do it in the constructor, because if we do it in the constructor of our view model, that occurs too early in the process. We need the setting to occur at a reasonable point. Thinking. Because this whole thing came about because of this guy here. Trying to look to see if so none of these things are not in an ordering list. I'm wondering if they should be. Because we could fix this in here with XAML styler and just change the ordering. Is that what I want though? What's the automation properties name set for? Good question, Justin Bieber. That one there would be if you were using anything that goes through the automations API. So like WinApp driver is probably one of the more common ones. At one point in time, I was dabbling with writing. So my name's probably on the blame, just to be clear. At one point, I was dabbling on the idea of writing UI tests for the demo app. This was before I created XAML test. So some of the pain that came with trying to write UI tests for the demo app for this library is what prompted me to build XAML test. So this, I don't think is likely serving any purpose at all at the moment. We can just confirm that real quick, but I'm pretty sure this is probably not consumed anywhere. Find all references. Yeah, no one's referencing it. So fairly confident that that's there. So I'm a little hesitant to just fix the ordering in XAML styler, only because that's very unintuitive. Like, I do a lot of WPF, and I don't know how long it took me with this bug to figure out that the difference is the item source got moved in ordering. Because, you know, I comes before S in the alphabet, therefore XAML styler ordered things alphabetically. which normally is a very reasonable thing to do. And in this case, because the item source is getting set, and because we're binding selected index and selected item, before our view model gets a chance to assign those, it goes, I got you, and sets the default. Which is highly obnoxious. So, one, I like the idea of leaving the item source as is up here and work on making this work. I mean, we could do something stupid, right? Like, I can't remember if delay works on the source from the view model or if it only works in the other direction. Because normally you set a delay on your bindings for like typing. Yeah, I didn't think so. So these ones here, that's a good question. I'm willing to bet if I move this guy back down, you will see these things executed in the order that they are listed here. So index first, then item. But we can test that. That's a good test. So breakpoint there, go. Ooh, selected item first. That's a bit surprising. Because I think I said the exact opposite order. Oh, interesting. I'm wondering... Okay, hang on. Let's go back and try this again. The assignment came into selected item, but I'm willing to bet if we look at our call stack, it comes through selected index. Let's test this. Selected. Yeah. Oh, I don't have zoom it running. Hang on. Zoom it. So I realize this call stack is tiny. So our breakpoint is being hit, but selected item is being assigned to because selected index was set on the view. So this guy is being applied first, which is then causing selected item, which is interesting. Hang on. This is interesting that it has a value here. Because we set selected index. So it assign. Oh, how did it have a value to pass? If those properties are evaluated in order. Decompile. I want to take just a little brief see. We could have probably just pulled it from the symbol servers too. Take too much longer, Visual Studio, and I'm just going to pull it from a symbol server. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm bored. You can't make me... Oh, okay, you are going to make me wait. Sometimes, Visual Studio, you're a jerk. Come on. Whoa! Whoa! Stop executing. Give me back control. I'm not afraid to task manager kill you. Stop running. So close that for the moment. Visual Studio. Okay. I'm bored waiting on you. There. Okay. Relaunch. I'm trying to decide how I actually want to do this. You set to set. Does that mean XAML has set the value in view model, or is that code side? Should we check set or get? No, that's a good point. If I set the breakpoint on get, I think you will see the order the order invoked is the order in there, but I realized I said we were going to check it, and then I did the exact opposite, I guess. That's a good point. And actually, you know what? Just for kicks and giggles, let's do the collection too. I am just surprised that because I'm curious now with all of these set, if it has actually read that collection by the time it gets that far. The fact that the selected item came through with a value means that it had a value to pass. I'm just confused where it was able to get it. Okay, so it read the collection first. Interesting. Let me just check call stack. This came from line 32. Oh, that doesn't count. Let's see. Disable breakpoint for the moment. And we're going to put that there. And then we're going to run. And then we're going to re-enable the breakpoint. For those people who've seen this cool little breakpoint hover over window, this is coming in Visual Studio. You'll note I'm on the preview. If you want this, go get Visual Studio 2022 preview. Okay. Because it took me a minute to get used to it, but I really like this window. This is really nice because most of the time people didn't know that there were cool settings for breakpoints, and now as soon as you put your cursor over it, like I'm not even clicking, it just, you can go right into the settings and stuff's all nice, party-like. It's pretty cool. Okay, so breakpoint back on. Okay, so selected index is read first, which is not shocking. It's listed first there. Selected item is then read, which we're passing out a null. This is read, and then the assignment to selected item is coming in. And this thing has a value, which kind of makes sense. And so this is going to end up raising property changed on this value. So this set property method raised property changed. The binding, should be able to double check. Data binding expression. Yeah. So the binding, after getting the property changed event, then reads the current value out of it. Selected index gets read. Not entirely clear why. Gets read again. The demo items get read again. This is inside of a move next got executed. What the heck? Ooh, wait, what? Oh, this is a can execute call. Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. So the commands are bound up to their buttons or whatnot, and it's checking the can execute delegate on the button, on the commands, to see whether the button should be enabled or disabled. Okay, cool. World makes sense again. Excellent. Okay. Selected item got read. I'm just going to leave the call stack pinned because I keep jumping to it. This is coming through from the binding. Selected index. This is once again raising the can execute on which command? Move next. I'm a little surprised this one keeps getting its... Why are your can execute being fired so much? You exist there and you exist there. You don't exist anywhere else. Huh. And it loaded. Oh, that's interesting. Wait, no. Okay, I've got another theory, and I really want to be wrong on this theory. Okay, so .NET -- list SDKs. What do I have installed? 5048. Perfect. We're gonna use that. Okay, we're gonna come over here in our global.json. We're going to do this. We're gonna pin ourselves to an old one. And then roll forward is going to be like none or disable. No, not latest feature. Do I not get? There it is. Yeah, roll forward, disable. Okay. And we're gonna come in here. And I would like to launch with NetCore 3.1. Come over here and how do I downgrade you so that you build and launch with my other SDK? Launch settings.json, right? Yeah, you're gonna be unhappy with me. Yeah, because you can't build a Net 6 target with the 5.0 SDK. We're just gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get rid of that for the moment. Net 6 is just gonna we're gonna torch it for a minute. We're gonna just get rid of Net 6. We're gonna powwow like it's still 2019. Okay, collapse all this. Because my theory is that this is a new problem. Because there was some performance stuff that happened. And I'm wondering if there's some timing related bits. Okay, so how painful is this going to be if I hit compile? Okay. What is your problem here? Okay, so this is likely... So here's what we do. The WPF tests, all the test projects, we just unload those projects and they don't exist. The Ma Apps project, I just unload and it doesn't exist. Let's see, that unloaded all of those. I unload all of you. And then I unload you. And yeah, now we build. Okay. Let's see. What is the actual error here? This may be more effort than it's worth, but I am curious to try this in an older SDK. Blah 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 blah. 3 build failed. That's a lot of stuff that failed, but that sounds like boy, I've got my verbosity set high, don't I? So the colors repo is failing to build and everything upstream of that is dying. So we are going to unload project and we are going to reload project. And we're going to build you because I think it was just unhappy with all the changes I did. One failed. Why? What is your problem? Error. It's not finding all the base stuff. Oh, it's because I... Dang it. It's because somebody got clever and used global using statements, which don't work in older SDKs. Okay. Just convinced myself this is a bad idea. So discard, discard, and discard, and discard. I'm just going to reload Visual Studio because I'm sure changing out all of that stuff underneath it is probably terrified it. I am going to try a similar thing and just pin it to an older 6.0 one, because that's an easy thing to test. We didn't see this in a prior release, which makes me really suspect that it's new. And I realize that ordering's been there for a long time, so it may have just slipped under the radar. It may have just slipped under the radar. Okay, so can I just right click on the solution and reload all projects? Is that a thing? Load all projects. I thought that was a thing. Okay. Okay, so you should go back to building and being happy. Okay, so but we still have the problem of fixing. And I got too much stuff open now. Like on one hand, we could set the ordering. I think what I would rather do is change this such that the ordering doesn't matter. That the right choice? I think so. I think so. And I'm actually wondering what happens if I do this and put selected item first, then the item source, then go the other direction. And then more importantly, up here, if I go selected item gets demo items dot first. I'm curious how it handles this situation. Because the selected item will be the first assignment that occurs. Then the items will come in. Let's just get rid of the breakpoint. And disable, I think. Yeah, so that worked. Because part of me was tempted to get rid of the selected item binding. Because doing it this way kind of solves the problem. It's kind of a confusing way to solve it. But the idea being that as soon as you set it up like this, yeah, that now works. That's probably the cleanest solution. So the idea here is because the view model maintains the state, I don't care about the state of the XAML anymore. So I set up my view model in the state that I want. And selected index is a little different than selected item, because item actually holds the object. I think this is the easiest fix. Let me just check and make sure I don't have any extra changes. So we'll get rid of the code behind change because that really doesn't make a difference. I think I want to throw away the UI change as well, because the fix should just be the view model. And let's just confirm that that still works. Huzzah. Okay. Okay, we're gonna, okay, before I get too horribly distracted, let's see, create branch here, fix demo app, start page, boom. Nope, stop it. That's what I want. Setting demo page, starting demo page with the reordering of the XAML attributes with XAML styler. This broke. It was a very interesting bug to have come into play. Okay, so once again, get cracking. You can just drag your branch onto master, push and start pull request. Sure, I don't care what fork it goes to. And it's going to gen this thing up. It's going to think for a moment, because it has to iterate the forks. Probably should have pushed it to a different fork. Okay, I'm bored waiting. Get bored too easily. You be bigger. You know what? Turn off submodules. I don't care. Let's see. View on origin. I can jump here, and then I can just PR. And this is going in vnext. Create pull request. And then we can set auto merge. Away we go. Okay. Okay, so back to the DialogHost. Now that I've been so rudely distracted. Okay, so let's fire this up, because I do want to try to solve at least that one issue. So, dialogues. And so just to be clear, where'd my notepad go? Can I close it? Okay. So the idea is we click this button. Oh, I turned off my breakpoint. Okay. Dialogues, view model, and I want the one from this demo. Too many demos, not enough time. I'm gonna kill this, and I'm gonna just file scope the namespace because I'm here and I can. The idea is here is that there appears to be an assumption between when the button is clicked and when we actually show the dialogue. And I think the failure is the pop-up assumes that this window had focus. Oh, that's an interesting point. If the pop-up assumes the window has focus, its initial state is probably wrong. I bet you that's the bug. Oh, I bet you that's what's happening. Okay, that makes some sense. I don't care. Where'd the other page go? So I'm willing to bet that's the kicker. Is in their app, they are probably popping a dialogue. The pop-up makes the assumption that because it was shown that its parent window had focus. Which you could pop the dialogue via any number of ways in code. It doesn't mean that your window has focus. I bet you that's the kicker. That's why the breakpoint reproduces it. Because it's not necessarily the fact that I'm putting Notepad in front of the window. It's the fact that I'm taking focus from the window. And if all you do is set the breakpoint in Visual Studio's debugger is very helpful to go, hang on, I stole focus, let me put it back. I bet you that's the kicker. I bet you that's the kicker. Is the it's falling into place. It's falling into place. Because I do this, I grab Notepad, I put it here, just so that when Visual Studio sets focus back, it sets it to Notepad, not to the other app. Right? I click continue. Or I guess it doesn't set it back. Either way. But now the dialogue's up, but the window's not in the right state. and I go here, and I go here. Okay. 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 This is going to be a pain in the neck because we're not going to be able to test this with a debugger attached. That is going to be a royal pain in the neck. But okay, state changed. Because I think, where is the activated deactivated? Set topmost state false. Windows state changed. Refresh position. One of these buttons. Which one of these gets invoked when the window gets minimized? Because I don't see what would hide the pop-up. Is it in here? Get window rect. Okay, I want to fire this up and see. I think this is what's getting invoked. I think this is what's getting invoked, but I'm not. Might just be dumb. My Mountain Dew's empty, so that's the other problem. Oh, hang on. Second Mountain Dew. We are going to solve a hard to find bug. Because I do recall several bugs being logged over the years around things like this, and I am wondering if I finally stumbled upon nice steps. Okay, so we just do this. F5. I guess that doesn't matter as much. But what I am interested in is what happens when I hit minimize. Which one of these methods is being triggered? So is it set topmost state when I minimize the window? Window deactivated. Okay, so this is going to be nearly impossible to chase that way. Let's do this. Oh, I should have done that. So settings. Let's abuse this. Actions. Show a message. Cancel. Oh, not let me backspace. I can type, but I can't delete. Visual Studio. This is not a good experience. You make me unhappy. Actions. Okay. Topmost. Yeah, I can't use my arrow keys. I cannot type. Okay, this... Not a good experience, Visual Studio. Not good experience. Okay, why is it blocking me from typing? I must know the answer to this question. Because, okay, so we take Snoop, we point Snoop at Visual Studio, we jump in here. Oh, dear heavens. I see canvases and view stacks inside of... Oh, boy. Inside of a custom text editor, WPF. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. What have we done? What have we done? Is there a delete? I am mildly curious as to what we're gonna keep going. We've got the assembly for this guy, so let's take a brief look at what he does. Ooh. Thought I said go. Oh, there. You just slow DN Spy. Probably about to get too many windows open. I probably need to close some of these down. 1 second. Just want to move it to make sure I don't have any. I don't remember what assemblies I had open before. Too many. Clear some of these out. There. Okay. DN Spy, wonderful project. Unfortunately, appears abandoned, which makes me sad because it is one of my weapons of choice. Okay, so DN Spy, we come in here, we go Microsoft Visual Studio Text Editor Implementation, WPF Text View. And we go, that's a very long namespace, thank you very much. And we come over here, Microsoft Visual Studio Text.editor, text editor implementation, which is interesting choice for a namespace. And then we come down to WPF text view. And then we go, dear heavens, what are you doing that I can't use my backspace key? Okay, I'm looking for a key press event. On keyboard focus within. Oy vey, you have written fly text and rendering options, text rendering mode. That's not interesting. Not interesting in the least. On keyboard, mouse down. Let's see. I don't see I sort of expected to see an on key down or similar being handled. I don't see anything that appears to be handling key press, which is shocking to me. So the other way we chase this is we come in here and we go events, we go change tracked events, we come in here and we go, okay, which one, who of you is hijacking my key press? Key down is being tracked, perfect. Move this to the side. Over here, click, backspace. Excellent. Arrow. This is terrifying me. You'll note something. Okay. Text input handled by grid. I'm sorry, what? The grid. Oh, the grid is probably this text view host. What do you do? Like, the fact that the grid marked my key press as handled is mildly hysterical. Let's see. I see more and more projects using the Avalonia framework. What do you think about this framework? I'm interested in your opinion. Hello, Zayla. Good to see you. So I've played with it a little bit, but I will be honest. I think it's probably been close to 2 years since the last time I took a look at it. So the company I work for is a professional services consulting style thing. And so typically when new projects come in is often a time where I will go through and reevaluate different frameworks to see how they've matured, because just because a particular library or framework wasn't viable for a project doesn't mean that in a couple of years it hasn't matured enough to be so. But I don't think I've looked at it in the last 2 years. The last time I looked at it, it was not nearly mature enough for me to want to build an application on. And there wasn't a lot of value add over just going with like a straight WPF style app, at least for the project that I was evaluating it for. I have seen several projects pick it up. The other one that's potentially interesting as well to me would be the Uno project. They have kind of a similar They're both kind of tackling the same problem from slightly different approaches. But it is interesting. When I evaluated it before, and I'm doing this entirely from memory from like 2 years ago, so take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. If I recall correctly, there was certain things were very difficult, like the stuff with the styling and the advanced control templates and Visual State Manager wasn't really working very well. Now that's obviously something that could have easily been fixed in a couple of years' time. But if I'm remembering correctly, that was part of the issue. Is if you wanted to do highly customized UI, it was really, really difficult. So, but again, definitely worth taking a look at. I've had people for the material design library actually request ports of the library to those other ones. And I've thought about it, but I have a hard enough time with just WPF and my desire for WinUI 3 that the idea of taking on a few more, I'm happy to accept PRs and bundle things into a library for it, but supporting them seems very difficult, which is part of why one of my other pie in the sky projects is I effectively want to get source generators for XAML. And that's kind of what I want, something similar to that, where I can have kind of a base template and then source gen into the various platforms. That way I can deal with some of those idiosyncrasies between the two. Okay, so I think what I learned is breakpoint is garbage. We're going to abandon that hook. Okay, maybe it's not just the breakpoints. Visual Studio's not letting me backspace either. Don't save. What is going on with my machine tonight? I am having more problems than I typically do. I would be curious if you do go play with Avalonia, to hear if it's improved. Because I do agree with you. I have seen more projects starting to pick it up, which has been interesting. And every project is kind of a little different in for what its requirements are. And so I have a hard time saying that one framework is always the right answer, unless it's the community tool called the MVVM library, in which case it is always the right answer. But for UI stuff, there is always that. There's always pluses and minuses. It's rare that I find one that doesn't have something. Okay, so let's do right line. Wow, come on. Come on. Come on, Visual Studio. You can catch up to me. I know. Let's see. Topmost, and then let's slap in I don't know why I didn't just interpolate at the beginning, because I'm dumb. It's top. Something like that, something like that, something like that. Okay, let's go there. I'm going to come over here real quick, and I need to grab this. And I think what I can do is okay, you here and dialogues and okay. So I don't really care about the breakpoint as much. So I'm more interested in just chasing what happens when I do this. Output window. See, I know I'm getting there. We saw it get there, didn't we? What? Was I already running when I wrote that? Okay, you are making this challenging, Visual Studio. This is not supposed to be a hard thing. Okay. Here. I'm gonna, oh, take that, grab that. One of my colleagues sent a wonderful, so in the United States, we are getting close to Halloween, which is typically marked as a holiday where people tend to dress up and go around and get candy. So there was this wonderful costume idea that he had shared out with my group. Your systems administrator costume. Windows XP, Service Pack 2, CD-ROM. It bothers me that CD-ROM is all mashed together, but that's a different problem. Purchasing power of endpoint licenses. A server room hoodie from DEF CON 7 vendor. I got a good chuckle out of that. Okay, so I know I'm here. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now we're seeing output. There we are. That's what we want. Okay, so if I go run code, right, topmost true, minimize. Topmost false about half a dozen times. Interesting. Okay, so what is actually hiding? Left top width height. Is this what's setting it so tiny? Left top width. Not topmost. Width height. I don't understand what is actually making this thing disappear. Are we hitting this? No. What is making this pop-up not be shown? That's what I'm missing. Because it's not that. It's not that. It's not that. The base pop-up itself. Set topmost state child. Presentation from visual. Yeah. Yeah. Set window. Okay, so I need to look at this method because this method apparently does something that I am not familiar with. So user32 set window POS. Actually, how hip are you if I do this? So if you press F1, in a lot of cases, if Visual Studio can find the documentation for what you are attempting to do, it'll navigate you there. Like for example, when I put it on entry point and hit F1, it noticed I was on a string, so it took me there, which is helpful, but not in this case. That's not what we want. Actually, but I do want the window open. So let's do p invoke user32 set window position. What exactly do you do? Okay. Change the side position Z order of a child pop-up or top-level window. These windows are ordered according to their appearance on the screen. Okay, so I'm very interested in this thing here. So what are these? So top, bottom, not topmost. So we're setting 1, 0, and -2 versus -1. That is possibly the least helpful documentation. Okay. What I am interested... Ah, okay, so this is helpful. Handle 1. At the bottom of the Z order, above all non-topmost windows, that's this flag no effects is already a non-topmost window. Top of the Z order, top. Okay, so that's okay. So that makes a little more sense. So what exactly are we doing here then? Z order would only get refreshed if clicking the title bar as opposed to parts of the window, unless I first set it to bottom, then top, before not topmost. So the goal is to go to not topmost. Got it. So that's the reason for this rigmarole. Because the goal is to get here, right? This flag has no effect if it is already a non-topmost window. So the problem is it's rejiggering going top, bottom. Yeah, so it's going top, bottom, and then doing this. Okay. That doesn't explain where the pop-up is going. So where is my trusty Snoop? Trusty Snoop, come here. You are my friend. Okay, so I would like to target the pop-up, pretty please. Thank you. Let's grab... There's the pop-up. Is open. Right, so he is set. If I minimize this, Snoop's window gets minimized with it. Oh, but it's not that it's not being minimized. It's that it's not activated. Oh. So it is okay. So it really is just the activation state. The minimized isn't actually the problem. So set topmost really needs to occur on pop-up opened, which it is. I'm kind of curious. I set a breakpoint here and a breakpoint here. Then I come in here, close you, come in here, close you, run code. This is passing a host window true. Because at the point of open, oh, excuse me. Mountain Dew. Because it believes that the host window is activated. And when the host window is deactivated, it uses the topmost flag because the deactivated topmost window is still on top of other windows. I wonder why this doesn't just use the parent. bet you this thing doesn't have a concept of that. Okay. WPF window. Because when, oh, I'm sorry, the owner is what I'm thinking of. I'm willing to bet. Yeah, the pop-up doesn't have it. But that's only because it wasn't set. That's not it. Set owner. Set window long. That's the magical incantation. Let's duplicate. I have a feeling that's... kind of wonder if this gets me around the need for this topmost bits. Set window long. GWL style. Handle index. I kind of want to know the... oh, is this core? Oh, this is core. Set window. This, well, so I don't want that window long. I want user 32. Okay. The window long flags. That's what I'm looking for. I think that's what I want. Sorry. Handle parent. You know, the other thing that's probably worth looking at is, because this was poached off of this library here. Also done by Bastian Schmidt, who does Snoop. So knows a thing or two about WPF. And I'm just curious if there is anything, any major changes to this. I mean, this looks darn near identical, at least in all of the important bits that matter. So, not useful. But I am curious if I can set the parent of a pop-up. Show a window, use the following call. Does not contain. This might be a non-worthwhile endeavor, but I am very intrigued by the idea of doing this. Okay, so this thing is working though. Like, it comes through and sets it Set topmost. There's 3 references. Color. New stack. Trace. Get frame at index 1. Get method. Name. I think that's the magical incantation to make this work. Double check. I don't recall exactly, but it's something like that. And I might need to do, rather than index 1, I might need to do 1 off account. I can't remember the order. But I think frame, because I think the frame 0 is me and frame 1 is the caller. I think. So even though this looks like a really clever way of getting the calling method using the stack trace object, you probably don't want to use it in a lot of cases. It's actually rather expensive. So not a great idea in terms of perf. Okay. Topmost false. Host window deactivated. Great. Okay, so if I kill this, well, that's working exactly as designed. Okay, perfect. If I click run code, why didn't it? Hello? Oh, did I put the breakpoint on the wrong method? I did. So if I do this, so pop-up opened is the last thing we see here. We're going to put notepad here, continue. So pop-up opened. I kind of want to do that again. Okay, clear all, run code. So I'm going to clear all, click notepad, click continue. Okay. So it gets the deactivated call. It gets the deactivated call. But it's still present. And it passed false. I almost want to defer this. I wonder how badly that's going to bite me if I defer it. I wonder how badly that bites if I defer it. Topmost is false though. Like it came through. There was a true. Set Windows position. No owner Z order. No size, no move, no draw. Sorry, I read this no shenanigans, and I'm like, well, that would be ideal, but apparently no send changing is different. No size, so no active, no owner Z order. Hide window. Interesting. I'm kind of curious if there's... So what does the doc say about this guy for the last bit? Insert after flags. Let's see. Hides the window. Does not activate this window. No redraw. No reposition. No scene changing, no size, no Z order. Displays the window. So we are setting it's interesting that we're setting no activate. Does not, if this flag is not set, the window does not activate the window. If this flag is not set, the window is activated and moved to the top. That feels like a bug in the docs. If the flag is set, the window is activated. Something feels backwards there, and I'm not sure what. Let's see. Sizing, positioning, flags, whatever. Great. No copy bits. Does not redraw changes. That would be horrible. I kind of wonder if... So I'm going to take a theory here. In that when we're doing all of this stuff, I want to change up the flag that's being sent. So if we're topmost, I'm going to just do this here. Then down here, var flags. Let's see, SWP topmost. And then I think that's fine. No, let's just do the same thing on all of these because I'm kind of curious now what it's going to do. I am curious. Because something doesn't seem to be lining up with like especially the concept of no redraw. Feel like this just feels wrong. Like that doesn't match the behavior I'm seeing, so something seems off or is being mitigated elsewhere. So you disable for the moment. Yeah, and this is the parent problem. of it sometimes being able to float behind. Okay. So I'll note that there is no topmost in here. Da-da-da. If you have changed certain window data, let's see. The window can be made a topmost by either setting to handle topmost and ensuring that the SWP no zero flag is not set, or setting windows so that it is above any existing topmost windows. When a topmost window is made topmost, its own windows are also made topmost. Its owners, however, are not changed, which is good. Request the value specified if neither the no activate or no Z order specified is not an active window. Okay, I don't think that's our use case here. We are trying to set one of those two in every case. Let's see. An application cannot activate an inactive window without also bringing it to the top of the Z order. Applications can change an active window's position without restrictions, or can activate a window and then move it to the top. Okay. If a topmost window is repositioned to the bottom of the Z order, or after any topmost window, it is no longer topmost, which explains why we have the handle bottom being called first. Are also made not topmost. Great. Non-topmost windows can own a topmost windows, but the reverse cannot occur. The inverse cannot occur. A topmost window can... so a non-topmost window can own a topmost, but a topmost window cannot own a non-topmost. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Got it. It does feel like what I want to do is really enqueue these a little bit. Does that solve my problem? Because I want the... Because the problem is that we're seeing right now is set topmost state comes in with a true. Then the deactivated comes through, and the window is still visible despite the fact that deactivated triggered, I don't know, a dozen times. Which sort of makes sense. This window position is going to fire. Even though its window is no longer focused. Let's take a quick gander down at the pop-up control, I think is what I want to look at. Okay, so what exactly are you doing here? Treat mouse plate miss bottom, blah blah blah, don't care, don't care, don't care. Don't you have a... No, that's not what I'm looking for. not what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. I just want to look at your members. Stays open. Drop opposite. Yeah, so this guy comes through here. Got it. That's not overly helpful. Measure, ensure pop-up captures. Theming. Logical children. Build window. Okay. On window resize. Okay. That's fine. Establish pop-up capture, show window. So what triggers show window? Where are we? Create window. So they have, let's see, async contacts. Make new window, build new window, create pop-up root, great, transform, new window, yada, yada, yada. On opened. So all of this has occurred by the time our event handler gets invoked. It's already done everything. So by the time on opened is invoked on our side, because we watch for the opened event. We've already come into here and we've already checked for, is our parent window active? And we know it is. Clear all. Clear all. Pop-up opened. Deactivated. Oh, I bet you these deactivated calls are probably because we have like this many dialog hosts in the UI right now. Because when I deactivate the window, all of them are going to trigger this. That's an excellent point. I need to output this guy's let's just output his hash code as a way of identifying, because I'm pretty sure all of these are going to have different hash codes. And I want to make sure, because I was making the assumption that deactivated was triggering, but it might only be triggering for the other ones. That's a theory. Let's test it. Let's test it. Let's test it. Okay, so if we go here, we're going to clear output, run. Oh, we don't have the breakpoint set. There. Cancel. Clear. Open. Run. Clear. Notepad. F5. Okay, so pop-up open 994. So it does, so deactivated does trigger. And it likely is triggering after. So deactivated does come through. Wait, did it not? Yeah. Breakpoint, notepad, F5. It's there. So it does trigger the deactivated. And yeah, these other ones are all different instances. So is the issue these things are just coming through in very rapid succession? And if I were to take the deactivated call and defer it, what would happen? So let's try that. So in this case, if I did dispatcher begin invoke, right? And then I do this whole thingamabobber, move all of you inside of this delegate. Get in there. And then we do something like dispatcher priority input. Either way, it's enough to defer this slightly. I'm curious if that makes any difference. Okay, is my output on build just set incredibly verbose? Is that why I'm seeing so much? Okay. Yeah, there's the next previous buttons. Okay, so dialogues there. Run code. Notepad 5. So same thing. Pop-up opened. Topmost false is interesting. But yet still showed the pop-up. I'm wondering, does it watch the placement? Like, something is happening that I am not understanding. Containing UI core, placement target, unregister from. What is this? New value. Register pop up with placement target. What does this method do? Register pop-ups. The list of pop-ups. Registered pop-ups field. Get so it's okay. Show me your usages then. So unregister, great. Yellow's getting annoying. Unregister, register. Descendant walker, tree walker. Interesting. Okay, so there's something magical happening there. Is there not a... I'm going to just slap a refresh position down here, because it seems like it's not rejiggering. Thing is weird. What would be the reason? Because deferring the invocation with the begin invoke made the value switch from true to false, because that left enough time that when it went back through the event pump and came back through, that the activated state on the window was no longer true. But still invoking the method with false, excuse me, invoking the set window position with is top false did nothing. Because the pop-up was still actually visible. Okay. I wonder how you end up doing this. Because what I want is the pop-up to reevaluate its placement route. And I don't think that such a thing exists. What's this guy here? Show only target type matches. That's not what I want. Allow topmost. Is there not an option for... Wish there was a way to say only things in the first hierarchy level. Let's see, begin storyboard, bring into view. You know, this guy here is which handle? That's the handle source of the visual child. Doesn't explain it. That doesn't explain it. And refreshing the position doesn't actually change it. Let's ask people smarter than me. This is kind of close, but not. Yeah, this is doing the same gobbledygook trick as what we're doing for refresh position, but I don't really want to refresh the position. Let's see here. Interesting. Well, I think I am falling asleep at this. So I do see the problem, but I'm not entirely clear what the appropriate fix is going to be for this. Okay, just rehashing this out loud to make sure I'm not being too dense. We have a situation where a pop-up is being shown. And actually, I wonder if it's even related to any of this stuff. Okay, we're gonna try one more thing. One more thing to try. So themes, DialogHost. DialogHost. You, come here. And I want to change you from a pop-up EX to just a straight up pop-up control. So we're gonna ditch our control completely. Oh, it's probably unhappy that I left that in place. Okay. So we're not going to use our pop-up control at all. Now it derives from the base pop-up, so it's probably not an issue. But with those p invoke calls in there, and not fully understanding the ramifications. Oh, hush now. You picky. Just about guarantee that. Let's see. You happier now? There. Those p invoke calls, because I'm not 100% confident on exactly what those are going to end up doing. Oh. Pop-up lives in the default namespace, not our WPF namespace. I'm just going to throw those away real quick. So I would totally expect things like that, because we have the refresh positioning stuff not working. Oh, thanks for the follow, SSH2001. Let's see. So we're going to go here. Pop. Same exact behavior. Same exact behavior. I'm a little surprised I see any of these now. Wait, what? The pop-up EX control must get used in more places than just the DialogHost. Oh, it probably gets used in like the pop-up box or similar. Yeah, it does get used in the pop-up box. Okay. So that at least makes sense. But this guy here is a... Let's grab Snoop. Let's just confirm what I'm looking at. Go there. Walk our way up the food chain. Yeah, we are looking at a regular pop-up primitive. So the behavior being observed is I hate to use the word default pop-up, but it kind of is. Like, even without our pop-up control. And I'm not sure how to handle that. I'm really not sure. Yeah, like, so there's problem one is it's, you know, it's just going to float. Oh, I need to quit shaking my windows. Arrow shake is a pain. But if we look at this, can I see you don't have an owner? I'm going to say there's nothing. Yeah, and the parent is set to the placement. If we go placement. parent. Got it. So both of those are the same. And because we're no longer watching the events, obviously things like size changed and location changed aren't triggering, which means our pop-up doesn't ever move around. Interesting. So, but this thing does indicate that we could set it. Right, like we could change this. Can you control the exact Z order of it? Does it let you? Front of the zero. If the thread is in the foreground, otherwise. See, we're seeing, so this would seem to indicate to me that if you set top and your running app, that thread isn't a foreground thread, you don't get to bring all the way forward. Otherwise, it'll bring to the front of the thread Z order, which is good. I wonder if we just tack on hide window in the false case. Let's, okay, sorry. I know I said I was giving up on this, but this is bothering me. Okay, just a little longer. Just a little longer. We're gonna come in here, stash that file. Stash. Okay, so we're gonna stash just that file. And then I want to come in here and I want this to be topmost. And I want this to be topmost, topmost. But I also want to concatenate, or concatenate bitwise or with hide window. Okay. Because in this case, we're trying to not push it to the top. Like when that is false, we are actively trying to avoid it. There, there, there. I mean, that worked, aside from the fact that it didn't. So, yeah, so that's exciting. I'm wondering if I need to go here and put it back with show window. So let's give that a try. So I'm wondering if we need more granularity beyond just topmost. Topmost feels a little weird to me as the sole flag, but interesting. That appeared to work. Interesting, interestinger, interestinger. So if I do that, breakpoint. Interesting. It then activates the window properly. Oh. Okay. Okay, so let's look at these three cases. So pop-up opened. We pass the window active or default is true. Good. Okay, next one. Host window activated should be true. Okay. Host window deactivated. So that would mean, for example, this. Okay. So here, so that's the difference. All right, we want to know, so we could certainly hide it. But you don't want to actually hide it on deactivated. I wonder if we could go show window. Show window. And we might only even need, yeah, we might not need it in both places. We might be able to hide window on bottom top. Okay, so let's test once again. Dialogs. And I'm going to dock you to the side. Pin you. Nope. Dock you to the side. Okay, run code. Notepad up. A little bigger. Continue. Okay, so it's visible. It's set on top of Notepad. But that's because it's set topmost. I think this might be the solution. So if that is not desirable, you can come in here and do a setter property allow topmost value false. Right? Debug. Terminate all. Make you a little bigger. Launch. So allow topmost is a special flag that we have on the pop-up EX class. Right? And you'll note if you set that to false, because these are being ANDed together, it doesn't matter what this thing passes. It's always going to be false that's sent through, regardless of what happens. And now the question will be, does this behave appropriately? That's interesting that it still gets... Oh, no, it's not actually that interesting. We're passing false. But we still set topmost here. Yeah, these flags aren't quite right. Like, if topmost is false, bottom top, no topmost. So let's go back here. What is no topmost? Places the window above all. I want this thing to be set. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree, Maverick. It is confusing me. I like the behavior that's being called out in the bug lines up with these flags. It just appears to, like, what is unclear to me is if, like, this top bottom, when it says, this Z order has to be thread specific. I guess it doesn't have to be, does it? And that's the thing, is it doesn't appear. Changes the size, position, Z child pop-up or top level window. These windows are ordered according to their appearance on the screen. That's the problem. Yeah, there may not be a way to necessarily address this. Because if these are ordered based upon their appearance on the screen, ideally we want to set their Z order such that the dialog is just in front of its parent window. And there's no clear way to do that. I think the easiest solution is to not use the default dialog host and embed the dialog host, which may or may not be a valid option for people. I wonder if it would make sense. People have asked for extra features for the dialog host, such as being able to like click and drag and move the dialog around. And I'm wondering if there's room to have a dialog host that doesn't use a pop-up and instead uses an actual full window. Like make it a tool window or similar and go that route. Okay. I think I am going to have to call it because I'm dying at the keyboard. I'm gonna think this through. I'm not 100% convinced anymore that it's a bug we can solve. And I feel like I rabbit trailed a lot, but that's what we do. We always rabbit trail on wherever it leads us. So I am aware that there was an outstanding request on the YouTube channel for DialogHost and changing contents in an MVVM approach. I have been toying with the idea of kind of just doing extra one-off videos and kind of shorter things that aren't necessarily live streamed, but that are just straight answering questions. So I may end up answering that one with a video because that might be easier than a sample app, but who knows? It may end up just being a straight sample app. So when in doubt, check out YouTube channel and follow it there to post it. I did post a video last week. It was very much get cracking and managing accounts with Azure Active Directory. So not something the average individual would probably do, but if anybody has managerial type things at a company, being able to have a centralized location for managing all of your licenses and users in one place, preferably if you're already working in Active Directory, it makes it really nice and really easy. So I had fun making it. It was great. It was my way of practicing video editing, which I suck at. But that's why we practice. So with that, I'll tell everybody happy coding. See everyone next time.